This is MykonosFan, and welcome back to Learning to Love PlayStation. Today, we'll be looking at Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Released in March 2014 as a standalone prologue for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, Ground Zeroes is a cruel appetizer for the main course which is almost upon us. The story continues the tale wove by Snake Eater and Peace Walker, with Big Boss infiltrating a prison facility on an island to retrieve child soldier Chico and Paz, whose alliance is still unsure. During Big Boss's time on the island, Mother Base, the home of operations he built during the events of Peace Walker, is under IAEA and UN inspection. Once Chico and Paz are rescued, a bomb is discovered in Paz and is surgically removed and discarded in a particularly unsettling sequence. The inspection turned out to be a guise by a military group called XOF, led by newcomer villain Skullface, and Mother Base is destroyed, with only a few survivors such as Kazuhara Miller and Huey Emmerich left. Paz returns to consciousness to reveal there is another bomb placed inside her. She jumps out of the helicopter to attempt not to kill everyone on board, and the chopper crashes, ending the events of Ground Zeroes. In every other case, boiling down a Metal Gear Solid title's plot to a healthy paragraph would be a madman's campaign and an exercise in futility, but in the case of Ground Zeroes, it's entirely apt and indicative of a new game structure for the series. Ground Zeroes is comprised of a few short missions, kind of similar to Peace Walker, but with much less missions, with the main campaign clocking in at about 1 to 3 hours depending on your approach, and with all of the other missions taking about at least a half an hour. The main mission follows the earlier plotline I outlined, while the rest are episodic, potentially non-canon takes carried out on a prison island. The game was heavily criticized as a $30 demo, and if you're here only for plot relevance to the series, it's a fair point. But if you're playing for the most intuitive and polished gameplay that the series has to offer, Ground Zeroes was an early treat just for you. It all comes with a simplification of everything the series has been gradually building over the years. No longer do you hit a button to sidle against walls and cover, a tap of the analog stick will glue you to surfaces. The camera is restrictive this time around on those surfaces, which really pushes you to be certain about sneaking out from cover. At first, as a player, I felt relatively lacking compared to earlier ROMs with Snake. Only a couple weapons, with a few grenades and distracting items needed to be procured on site. You're definitely not spoiled with a wealth of options. However, the more time I spend with the game, the more I've come to appreciate this laser-tight focus on the systems. With less options and less ammo than ever before, stealth becomes even more prioritized. Whereas before, I probably wouldn't see any reason not to just run through areas guns blazing, exhausting my already small arsenal seemed a grave error and made every bullet and tranquilizer round count. The guard AI is much improved too. No more are they walking dunces that spot your footprints and spout goofy lines. They now feel more like living, breathing sentries that can and will spot you if you aren't absolutely careful. At the same time, a magazine will still distract them, so some things never change. There are also timed patrols too, so if you think you can just take your time dispatching off every guard, you'll be in for a nice surprise when shifts change and new guards come to find that the ones they're relieving aren't around, and they'll call in an alert. My usual strategy of just hiding under raised buildings doesn't always work either, as guards now love to lob grenades in the confined space you're residing in. The prison island is a pretty respectable size, not so big as to be daunting, but not so small as to feel restrictive. Even now, a year and a half later, I'm still noticing small details and new ways to approach situations that I hadn't before. Even so much as a simple change from the dark, rainy weather of the main mission to day in an intel securing mission completely changes how you should approach the game. The side missions also do a pretty neat job of mixing things up. You'll get involved with anti-air units, track down 2 specific people amongst an island of guards, meet up with an intel operative about sneaking in to uncover pertinent information, and rescue Hideo Kojima. You know what? Why not? There are also 2 additional missions that reference Kojima's past work. One involves Raiden being sent back to the events of Metal Gear Solid 5 to destroy Snatchers, which, it's an okay mission, I guess. Raiden behaves as a reskin of Big Boss, refusing his signature blade. The main difference is that he can run faster. I mean, it's okay, but it pales in comparison to the Deja Vu mission, where you recreate scenes from Metal Gear Solid 1, and you can even unlock a Metal Gear Solid 1 polygon skin, which you can only use in this mission. Still cool though. On the opposite spectrum of PS1 polygons is a tease of what Kojima's Fox engine is capable of. Ground Zeroes on the PS4 exhibit some of the best lighting and weather effects I've seen so far in this current generation of gaming, and the PS3 version looks pretty damn decent too. Some textures on both systems aren't as great as they could be, but it's hard to complain about just how good Ground Zeroes is to look at. Surface level, it's easy to have been there at launch and been ho-hum about Ground Zeroes. Taking place on one map with a smaller amount of content, one could be excused for writing it off. The game is very appealing once you give it a chance, however, and aiming for 100% completion would easily multiply your total game time, and is frankly something I'll probably never do. Ground Zeroes feels like a Metal Gear Solid game just for me. Someone who can't as easily sit around and spend entire weekends trekking through political intrigue and complex character drama. Someone who just wants to sit down and get that MGS experience within an hour and walk away satisfied. That said, this vertical slice of a game has only made me hunger for more. At the time of this recording, The Phantom Pain is just days away. After 3 years of teases, bait and switches, fantastic trailers, and corporate drama, replaying Ground Zeroes again made me all the more impatient for what will most likely be the last entry in the Metal Gear Solid series, at least as far as fans are concerned. I'll be discussing The Phantom Pain soon enough. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Learning to Love PlayStation.
Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.